Welcome back to the Name Five Players podcast. I'm Tony Wetmore.
I'm Cassie Narkis.
And I'm Diane Raddick.
We are so excited to have sports reporter Katrina Sachon here with us today.
Katrina.
Hi, guys.
Listen.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be here. You guys are the best.
I know we've all had a long day. How was your day today?
Oh, I only had one class today. I had a public speaking class, and then I had some fun other meetings that I had to be in, but other than that, it was a pretty chill day.
Nice. Well, I know Tony and Diane. I already know you a little bit, but I don't know you as well. So I guess we can start off just telling a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a sports reporter. I started sports reporting in high school, but my sports reporting story dates further back. My dad got me into football at a really young age. He was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so inherently so am I. I know we got some Cowboys fans in the chat. Don't really know what I'm doing over here, but yeah, my dad grew up a Steelers fan, therefore I did too, and I grew up learning about all the greats, Mean Joe Green, Swan and Stallworth. And then when I was a kid, it's funny, I didn't watch like the Saturday morning cartoons. I didn't do that stuff. I watched NFL films and 30 for 30s and Super Bowl reruns and Pittsburgh highlights. That's what I grew up learning and doing. And that love that I had for football just kind of evolved. And I remember the first woman that I ever saw on my screen was Erin Andrews, and I saw her on Sunday afternoons on Fox, and I loved her. And from then on, it kind of just clicked. Like, hey, I can talk about football, and this could be a real job. And from then on, it kind of just clicked. I started in high school with my high school football and basketball team. I sucked. I was horrible. Nobody took me seriously. There was no need to. I hadn't proven myself. I hadn't done anything to prove myself. And then I took a gap year after I graduated high school, and I didn't know exactly which pathway I was going to take as far as getting to my end goal. But I took a gap year, and I was getting so many sports gigs right out of high school. So I said, hey, let's just put a pause on school right now. I was also tired from school, and I feel like that's something that's okay to admit, that you get tired from school. So I took a gap year, and I was able to really strengthened my craft. And then I got an offer from a coach that actually had coached at my old high school. And he said, hey, we have a position here at Erskine for you to be our courtside reporter. And then God led me here.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, just goes to show you like networking works. Networking
Oh, yeah.
is real. And like
Absolutely.
people are always you're always in people's minds. Like they always remember you, even if you think they don't, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And everyone's path is different. I feel like a lot of people get really hung up on like a traditional 4 year or a traditional just going straight from like high school to college. But like at the end of the day, everyone's on their own path.
Yeah. And I love how you mentioned Erin Andrews because she is a lovely alum of the University of Florida.
Go Gators.
So I love the little shout out. I love that the two, like probably the two most notable female sports reporters in the industry are both Gators. So
Laura Rutledge. We're gonna see her on Thursday. She'll be here.
Yeah, Laura's
Oh my goodness. So
I'm
fun.
back to the Gainesville area for we have a little like sports symposium, they call it.
Smithsonian.
Our friends been calling it the Smithsonian, but this is the second year they're doing it, so we'll get to see Laura. But yeah, I love it.
Great. That's so exciting.
No.
So you talked a little bit about that gap year you took in the middle there. Can you walk us through like exactly like what you did in that gap year?
Yeah. So I think I should start off by saying, so I have a brother. He's 3 months older than I am. We are adopted, by the way, if that makes sense for the age gap. But he and I are both in the same grade, so we graduated in the same class. And he is an engineer who works at Michelin. Compared to the other girl child who was not currently in school. So he had gotten a job right out of high school working at Michelin. He was killing it. He's still killing it. I love him. He's like one of my best friends. But there was a lot of competition between us growing up. And then once we graduated, it was like, all right, Katrina, he's in college and he has a nice paying job. What are you doing, girly? And so I did struggle with that for a while. But in between my high school and college days, I was working at Publix, and then I kind of bounced around, but I also had a an opportunity to cover high school football with a high school that I didn't go to. It was Christ Church. It was a private Christian high school, and it was small. It was a 1A school, and I'd reached out to them. I'd been to a couple of their 7-on-7s, and I had reached out to them and I said, "Hey, I just graduated. I'm not in school right now, and I would love to be your football sideline reporter." And Coach Hatfield and Josh Jackson took a chance on me, and it was some of my best football reporting days ever. I talk about them so highly. I have so much love for them. I would say, kicked off my sports reporting career, and I have nothing but good things to say about Christchurch. They actually ended up winning the state championship that year. I would like to say it was because of me, obviously. Um, but I have nothing but good things to say about them. They were the most supportive group in the world, and I was able to travel with them and work for them while I was also working, like I said, like another job just to pay some bills. And you know, I'm paying for my phone bill after I graduated, and I'm paying for whatnot. And so I really needed like a second job, and there's no shame in that. I feel like there was a lot of like backlash of like, oh, well, she's not really a sports reporter because she's working a different job. No, there was no shame in that. So I was working at Publix while I was working Christchurch football, and like I said, that was some of the best like football sports reporting that I've experienced so far.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, I think it's the reporting industry is definitely not the most high paying industry, you could say. So there's definitely no shame in having other jobs. I have a second job right now. I work at my apartment complex. So it's like there's no shame in like having other sources of income like that. So I think that's definitely really important to put into perspective.
All about passion. Sports is all about passion. How much you love it.
Yeah, you'll do anything to be in it. So it just goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going over a little bit with challenges, what's been, you'd say, the biggest challenge you faced, not only as a woman in sports, but just in general in this industry? What's been that biggest thing you've had to overcome during your time in this industry?
I only get to pick one challenge. I mean, come on,
I know,
guys.
it's like all the that you want, but you know, whatever you've been through that you've had to overcome so far.
Yeah, there have definitely been a lot of challenges. I think outside criticism as well as criticism coming from yourself. I think it's for me. It's like because I love football so much and I love basketball so much. I want to be at a certain level, and so I think we all experience this. We compare ourselves to people we see on social media and everything, and that's a huge component of it. And everybody has their insecurities. Even our girl Erin Andrews probably has something that she doesn't love about herself, even though that woman's perfect. Like, she could never do wrong in my eyes. But I think definitely comparison is. They say comparison is a thief of joy, and I definitely think that that's the case. And it's just for me, it's like, okay, when will I ever feel like I know enough? When will I ever feel like I am going to, nail a post-game interview and be perfect? When am I going to know every single football route in the book? When am I going to know every single basketball play in the playbook? You know, when am I going to know enough? And it's hard because it's like, okay, my boyfriend plays football. My dad knows more football than anybody on this planet. And so it's like, okay, well, how do I get to that level? How do I get to Joe Buck's level? How do I get to Erin Andrews' level? So I think comparison is definitely one of the hardest things that I've struggled with. And then I think it's like outside criticism that I get. I get hate comments and hate DMs every day. People don't like me. I'm not a well-liked person. And it's weird to say out loud, but it's like I've accepted that, and there are people that aren't gonna like you, and that's okay. And that's something that I really struggled with, especially when my career first took off. Like I said, I started in high school, and so I was covering football and basketball for my high school. People were mean, and I was annoying. I was annoying in high school. I've definitely matured, but I was annoying, so people didn't like me. And I was also covering the football and basketball team, so girls didn't like me, and guys were like, well, what the heck is this girl doing? I would also post sports takes on my Instagram. I remember I got a video. I posted a video about the Cleveland Brown quarterback situation that was going down back in like 2022, and I posted it on Instagram, and it immediately got like 20,000 views, and it immediately also got tons of hate comments, and they were the most vile, disgusting hate comments. And get this, I'm still a minor at this point, and I'm just gonna let y'all just come up with them in your head. And there's never things that anybody should have to go through or experience. The hate that I got on that video was absolutely ridiculous. I remember sitting in my room at like 3 a.m., bawling my eyes out. I was on the phone with my cousin. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he said, post a video tomorrow, post a sports video tomorrow, and keep going. And I think from that moment, I kind of promised myself, I said, I am never going to let criticism get to me the way it did. And criticism definitely still bothers me, but I would say that moment in time, my senior year of high school, that changed me forever. And I think it was so important that I did it early in my career. It was very early when I was still kicking everything off, literally football. Um, but but I think from that moment I vowed to myself that I would never let it bother me again. And like I said, I get hate DMs every day, guys. People tell me the most crazy things ever. My requests are horrible, but I think it's the case of, if you love something so much, nobody's going to hinder you from doing so. And I love football, and I love basketball, and I love sports broadcasting, and nobody's going to take that away from me.
Yeah, no,
I can't believe your inbox is filled with hate comments. Like, you're the most likable person. You saying like, oh, people don't really like me. I'm like, why? I love this girl. What do you mean?
That's how you know you're doing it right. That's how you know you're doing it right,
people
though.
are just jealous that you get to do the job that everyone wishes they could do. Like, I feel like that's why women in sports are some of the more strong people that I know, because they have to put up with all that stuff. And it's definitely rough, but it's like, if you can get through that, you can get through anything, I swear.
Yeah, and like being a woman in sports too, like you don't just have to be good at what you do. You almost have to be so good that you prove people wrong, which sucks. Where like guys, they can kind of get away with like messing up or slipping up. Like with us, there's no room for that. And there should be, because you learn from that. But you get ridiculed for the smallest thing that a man wouldn't.
Yeah, like the first thing I thought of, there's a girl that's in our journalism school here, and she was covering the UF FSU game. And FSU has a little tradition where they cut out a piece of the grass after the game, and they have like a graveyard. And I don't remember exactly what the tweet said, but she got something incorrect. And
she was unaware of the tradition.
She was not fully aware of the tradition.
So she painted it out as they were cutting the field,
and like it was wrong, and that they shouldn't have been doing that. And I think it got like 700,000 views in like 2 days. Like, and people were bashing her for days and days and days. It got so much attention for the wrong reasons. And like, I honestly felt a little bad, because like anybody could have made that mistake. Yeah. But it's like things like that. Like, if any guy would have posted that, I feel like it definitely would not have gotten the hate or the attention that it did. So
my dad tells me something. It's funny. I'm gonna put him on blast for a second. He plays video games a lot. I think it's the coolest thing ever. But my dad plays video games, and he always tells me that if you're playing a video game and you're not hitting any bad guys, you're going the wrong direction. So I kind of view the same thing with criticism. It's like it's gonna come. There's ebbs and flows to everything. So it is.
You might not be doing it right.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Can I ask?
Yeah.
So a little bit like I came from Texas, and like coming from there, just they're very traditional. So the idea of being like a woman in sports, I have a lot of people from my hometown kind of not support it in the best way. So I understand like the whole kind of getting doubted on. But for me, it made me have this crazy drive to want to prove people wrong. And I know that you have something very similar, because I've seen you post about it on like just like kind of like proving people wrong and stuff. And so I just wanted to hear your take on like, when in the face of doubt, how do you react?
Oh man. I cried out first. I think it's very okay to be upset about something. I think, if people are saying mean things, it's okay to be affected by that. You are a human, and that's okay. And I think the most important thing is to dust yourself off and get back up. I've had bad reports, I've had bad games, I've had games where I felt like, shoot, I don't know what I'm saying. I have bombed more interviews than I would like to count. And I think the most important thing is the next one. I think the most important thing is the next report. It's if you bombed your pregame report, nail that postgame report. If you bombed your postgame interview, nail the next pregame report. If you had a really sucky week, guess what, baby? The next week comes. It's going to be okay. I think you have to know that if you want it, there's always going to be a next one. There's always that's guaranteed. That you're going to have another one. You're going to have another game. You're going to have another season. And I think that's the most important part is dusting yourself off and getting back up and saying, hey, I got this because I want this.
Yeah, that was very eloquently said. I love that. I definitely, yeah, that's definitely, I feel like people are always like, oh, when the quarterback's crying after they lose a big game, it's, oh, poor kid. And then when we're crying about something or when we're upset about something, it's like, why are you upset? So I feel like there's definitely like that double standard there.
Or like even in basketball, Caitlin Clark, she mouthed like the F word.
She
But
got
you know who
heated.
else did? The guy in LSU, the baseball guy to Florida. He turned around. Everyone
Yeah.
thought it was kind of like, ooh. But when the girl does it, it's this whole like
It's this
totally
whole thing.
blasted on social media.
Yeah, so I feel like it's definitely important to put out there that everybody has emotions, everybody is human, everybody should be able to process their emotions in a human way.
Yeah.
It was a really, really good point. But so I know on top of all of your sports reporting stuff, you also have a little bit of a social media presence. I know that's how I found you before I heard from Diane, and the first video I saw was your interview with Kirk Herbstreit, which I thought was really cool. So I would love to hear about like some people that you've gotten to the opportunity to talk to and kind of like pick their brains and like connect with and things like that. Yeah.
Kirk Herbstreit is a sweetheart. I have talked to Kirk on a couple different accounts at this point. We talk about college football. He is so smart. He is such a sweetheart. I don't think he ever remembers me, and that's totally okay. But he is a sweetheart. He's great. Obviously, college football is his thing, and so I've been able to speak to him. Tracy Wolfson is an amazing person. I got to speak to her, her and the CBS crew right before the Super Bowl, and she was amazing. She was so down to earth. I talked to her and Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, and right before the Super Bowl, and she was like so weirdly down to earth. Like I didn't think of her as like a cocky person by any means, but she was so down to earth. I asked her essentially, you know, what the Super Bowl environment is like, what she was looking forward to, and she gave me the most beautiful, detailed response. She was amazing. She's great. She's a mom, and so she kind of connected on that level. She was great. One of my favorite people, one of my favorite broadcasters is Kelsey Riggs. She is the sideline reporter for ACC Network. She's also pregnant, and she's like the cutest person pregnant. She's amazing. And I met her last year at ACC Media Day, and she is like inching up into Erin Andrews' spot, like really quickly. She's amazing. She is incredibly smart, incredibly talented, and I just love the way she seems so natural on camera, and I think that's something that I aspire to be like. And so I've met her a couple different times, had a couple different conversations over DMs with her, and she's so smart. I want her job one day, but I only want her job when she moves up into like a better, greater, bigger position. I don't ever want to take Kelsey's spot because she's like the best person in the world. She's so sweet. So that's as far as broadcasters, those are kind of the people that stick out to me. I have spoken to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, which was like the coolest thing in the world. Like I said, I watched Erin Andrews on my TV screen for the longest time, and that Fox crew used to be together. It used to be Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Erin Andrews on Fox on Sundays. And so they were really great. That was a couple years ago now. As far as players and NFL players, the first one that sticks out to me is Donovan McNabb. I met him at a quarterback event a couple years ago. Former quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's great. He was funny. He was nice. He was personable, and he spoke to me longer than I thought he would. It was great. I just got back from an AAU event this past weekend. Spoke to Ish Smith. He was the best. He was so great. He was so down to earth. I have had many NBA interviews, and I have tanked every single one of them. There was actually not a single NBA interview that I have nailed until this weekend, and he was so humble and he was so caring. He also called me a mini Malika Andrews, and so that was really cool. Um, he was really great too, and he welcomed me with open arms, and we had a great interview. So definitely lots of great people in the sports industry for sure.
Yeah, those are hard praises. Malika Andrews. I mean,
I know.
I know. I was kind of taken aback. That was so cool. I think I look up to her. Obviously, she's great. So that was definitely a cool compliment.
Now, earlier you mentioned that your boyfriend plays football. Being in this industry, it's hard to navigate every relationship, whether it be family, friends, but especially someone like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. How do you manage your time to give enough time to a boyfriend and family and your career? And just how has your boyfriend supported you during your time in sports and the craziness that comes with that type of schedule?
Yeah. Oh, it's so hard. I definitely have struggled with managing my time and balancing relationships, whether it's my parents, my brother, my friends, my boyfriend. It's difficult. My boyfriend and I are long distance right now, so it has definitely complicated things even more. Not only do I have a crazy busy schedule with basketball and football and AAU and everything, but we're also long distance, which doesn't make anything easier. It's important. It's important to set aside time for each other, and it's a difficult thing to handle. Not everybody can do it, and that's okay. But we had kind of made a promise to each other and said, "Hey, we're gonna figure this out regardless, and we're gonna make this work regardless because we love each other, and we want to see this through, so we are." And he is like my biggest supporter ever. It's funny when we first met, he actually saw me off of a TikTok that I had go viral 2 years ago now. Yeah, two Decembers ago, I had a TikTok go like semi-viral, and he followed me off of that, and then we followed each other on Instagram. I was in the point of like following back like everybody, just to kind of grow my following and whatnot. So I followed him back, and he was a football player, and he sat in my DMs for 6 months, but it was funny because he did it in a different roundabout way. We had really good football conversations. He was super duper supportive, and he's been super duper supportive since day one. He claims that when he first initially slid into my DMs, he wasn't trying to flirt with me.
That's what they all say.
A year later, I don't know. But that was his claim at the beginning. But he has always been one of my biggest supporters, and it's simple things like he'll watch my post-game reports and give me feedback. When I was covering Erskine basketball, he'd watch all of the games on the live stream. He would come to as many games as possible. So he's always been my biggest supporter. There's this sort of like tranquility that he brings me, and I'm super duper grateful for his help. And I think it's also like, obviously you guys know as well as anybody else does, obviously there's a lot of writing that goes into any game report before you actually do your report. And he majored in communications, and so he's always helping me with that. Not that I'm not a good writer, but he's really great. So I don't think I'd be as confident without his support. And I'm so incredibly grateful.
Yeah, it's always nice to have like an editing board, someone to throw ideas off of. I know like I work best when I'm like talking to someone or doing something in a group. Like I find it very difficult to do things on my own sometimes, especially when it comes to writing, because I'm not the best writer in the world. So
Oh, I'm freaking dyslexic, and I am majoring in journalism, and I figured it out. So
oh my
I
gosh.
can't spell, I
You
can't
should tell
write.
her how we found out you were dyslexic.
Oh, okay, yeah, a little bit of a side quest here. So I was taking a
It's the
honor.
funniest thing ever.
You know, like on exams, like like they're honor locked, like to their
Like with
proctor.
the proctors, like
So basically, like you're being recorded and like your screen's being recorded. So I'm taking a sports law exam, and when it's on honor lock, they turn off like spell check and all that. And so I submit my exam, whatever. My teacher, like in person, was like, "Can you stay after class?" I'm like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "Oh no!" And he turns the screen, shows me my answers, and I'm reading them, realizing that I'm spelling with numbers and letters. I didn't know that. And it's all misspelled. And to me, it made sense. Like I could read it and stuff. And he was like, have you he's like, I obviously can't spell very well. I'm like, yeah, no. He's like, have you ever considered you're dyslexic? And I was like, no. And he was like, I kind of think you might be. He is dyslexic. So he kind of saw through it. He
Okay.
sent me this little like dyslexic test where it kind of like it's a screening, so it's not a full like test and stuff because you have to wait a couple months to get actually diagnosed like that. And it came back completely like 100%. And I was like, oh, it makes so much sense though, because it manifests in other ways like directions and all that. And I'm horrible at directions. I can never read a clock. So I always thought it was just kind of stupid, but
It's funny that she mentions directions. My favorite thing about Diane is when we're driving and I'm giving her directions and I say, take a left. And she goes, okay.
Stop.
so bad.
Whatever helps. Whatever helps.
Exactly. It's probably the funniest thing, but it makes her unique.
Yeah,
It's one of the reasons
I can
love
do
Diane.
everything.
She can do anything she puts her mind to.
That's why we love Diane. It's great.
I forget what we're even talking about now.
No, we're talking about like her boyfriend and stuff, and then him
Boyfriend,
being
yes.
like so supportive. That's
Yes.
so important. And so my question though is a little bit of reverse of this, and we already did talk about this a little bit, but are there not outside of like your support group and stuff, and outside of what we've already talked about, are there women in the industry that you've either one have not been supportive or two kind of not treated you the way you wanted to be treated or you felt disrespected from a little bit?
I don't think so.
Good. It's really good.
Know of. I think it's if that's the case, I probably don't know of them. There are I mean, there are always people that aren't gonna love you. There are girls that aren't huge fans of me, like in school, in class, on the street, like whatever. I don't know. I don't really ever get too much criticism from other female sports broadcasters. I'm trying to like go through the list. I don't know. I don't really face criticism in that department, I guess. Then again, I'm pretty sure like there's got to be some of them out there that don't like me, but oh well, I won't lose sleep over it tonight because I really don't know. I think it's a thing of like you can't miss what you never had. It's like if I don't know about it, then it's not doing me any bad, you know. Um, I think it kind of just goes back to the whole thing of like people are gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. I think it's the case of if you want something, if you love something, you're gonna do it regardless of what people think about you.
Period. That's what I gotta say. Period.
Period.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like not a lot of women, but like there's always gonna be a few girls that are like, oh, I'm in this industry, but I don't want other women to take my place type of thing. I feel like it comes with the territory. I feel like because women are such a minority in sports as of right now.
Oh. There is one.
Oh, here we go.
I think it's the funniest thing in the world because I was a huge fan of this girl. Huge. I was obsessed with her. She was on NFL Network. She blocked me on Instagram. She was on NFL Network. Blocked me when I was a senior in high school. No clue why. No clue why. She was on Good Morning Football. I don't know why. I remember I had tagged her in like one video about like it was like something about like women in sports or like I know you know what it was? It was a when I was back in like doing my sports takes in high school, it was a topic that Good Morning Football had talked about. It was about like I don't know, something crazy about like wide receivers or something. And so I tagged all of them in my video because I was in high school and I was whatever. And Yeah, she blocked me. But she has like a million followers on Instagram. Like other than that, like nobody else. I've never faced criticism the way I the way I face. Again, it's like I was talking about the video that I had go like get a lot of views back in high school, and I was so upset about it. It was like it was that plus her blocking me all in the span of like a month, and it was after that it was like it's honestly smooth sailing from there. It's like now,
How could it get worse? How could it get worse?
so but yeah,
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I feel like everybody's had like at least one experience. So I was like, oh my gosh, she hasn't had any. You
I know, I was
lucky.
like-
I was like, you are lucky, but I feel like everybody's had at least one experience with somebody that gets a little threatened when it comes to
Yeah.
other women trying to step into the space, which is it's kind of hypocritical a little bit because I feel like all the women are advocating for more women in sports, but then when it comes down to it and when it's time for more women to enter the sports industry, they're kind of like, wait a minute, don't take my job. So I feel like it's very tricky thing to navigate. But I mean, why can't we all live in Barbie land and just love each other? Like, why can't we all succeed together? So
That's why organizations like Galvanize, shameless plug, are so important, and boot camp applications are open. So come in. We welcome you with open arms. I do see that we're kind of getting to our time a little bit, but Katrina, do you have any wrap up advice, something that you wish that you knew when you started this industry, or just any advice for our viewers who are trying to break into the sports industry and what you're doing?
yeah, that's a great question. I think I was actually telling somebody about this at church the other day. I wish when I graduated high school, like I said, I took a gap year. I wish when I graduated high school, I I had like a support team, and I wish when I graduated high school, I could give her a hug and tell her that everything was going to be okay. Um, it's because it is. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. You're going to find job opportunities. It's going to take time, and that's okay. You're going to mess up, and that's okay. You're going to have bad reports. You're going to get your facts wrong. You're going to get your stats wrong. Some people aren't going to like you. Some players won't like you. They're people. I think that's probably what hurts the most when it's like the players like you, but like they're people. So it's like their moms or their girlfriends or their friends. It's like, but you're like, what? I don't like it. Like that always gets me. But you're gonna face criticism. You're gonna mess up. You're not gonna be perfect, and it's gonna be okay. And I wish I could tell my like 17-year-old self that, and I wish I could. I want to be able to tell every girl that, like, hey, you're gonna figure it out if you love your job and if you do what you love. You're gonna be okay. And I think it's like do what you love and love what you do, and I think that's so important. And I wish I had some really great, compelling advice. I really wish I did, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to love what you do, and if you do, you're gonna be okay.
That is amazing. That is compelling advice. I don't know what you mean. That was great. But yeah, thank you, Katrina, for joining us today. And for all the viewers, please spam her requests and inbox with love comments, because we have to flood all of our guests and all of our women in sports and all of our allies in sports with the love that they deserve. So yeah, thank you for joining us on this week of Name 5 Players, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.